700,000 pupils that are being taught in schools in England that need major refurbishment. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that 700,000 pupils that are being taught in schools in England that need a major refurbishment. A damning parliamentary inquiry has revealed hundreds of thousands of children are learning in potentially unsafe buildings. Now, when we highlighted a while back about RAAC, that's the reinforced autoclaved concrete, the crumbling concrete that was deemed dangerous in hospitals, and it was found to have been in certain hospitals and in schools. If that's still there, why are we still putting children at risk of these potential threats when this was already highlighted? I'm kind of perplexed because we had a period not too long ago when we on this channel when we were talking about it here and several others. It was highlighted and we were saying like this is dangerous and kids need to be kept out of it. And yet here, according to The Guardian, 700,000 pupils are still being taught in those schools with that same danger. And the question is why? And if I'm excuse me, if I'm a parent and I find out that my child is being educated in a school with that kind of potentially dangerous concrete, I'd be absolutely up in arms, because as much as I want my son or daughter to have a good education, I don't want my son to unintentionally get hurt or worse being in a school with that kind of concrete. Now, obviously, I think it's also important to point out as well is that some schools that still do have them, they are blocked off sections. Some schools have blocked off these sections where the RAAC concrete is, so that it's not potentially in certain parts of certain schools that still have it, where other parts of schools don't have it. So what they do is they'll shut off a part of the school so that they can still open, they can still teach the children. But it obviously means they have less space, so it's more difficult to get around doing lessons for the kids. So making the schedules is more tricky if you have less rooms. And that's the problem, really. And the other thing is as well is because if they're struggling with lack of rooms, then the schools need to find money in their budgets to hire out mobile rooms to put the kids in, at least until the work can be done. So it's costing the schools, which in turn is costing us, the taxpayer, because the issue of the RAAC is not being dealt with. It's not being dealt with nowhere near fast enough, and I think that's another major issue as well. So, so we have here, before we even read it, potentially 700,000 pupils at risk. Still a lack of response from them, and it's costing taxpayers money because of schools having to either shut down their entire school or move parts of the school to bring in mobile rooms in order for them to be able to teach and get an education. Not good at all. So the state of disrepair of some schools is so bad that 700,000 pupils are learning in classrooms that need major rebuild or refurbishment, according to a damning parliamentary inquiry into the school state. This year's crisis over crumbling and potentially dangerous concrete means that other schools in dire need of an overhaul will not be included in the government's current rebuilding programme. See, the other thing is as well here is because they do it is some schools are so behind in terms of needing upgrading and refurbishing that they'll be pushed behind, because obviously this needs to take precedent, which in turn will harm children's education. So again, like, we're knocking kids down, while private education are kind of just rinse rocketing really at the moment. MPs on the most powerful public accounts committee, which examines the state on school repairs, also warned of a shocking and disappointing lack of basic information from the government on the concrete crisis in schools. It says that there were now unacceptable numbers of pupils learning in poorly maintained or potentially unsafe buildings. It states that the government's school rebuilding programme SRP has become dominated by concerns over the use of reinforced autoclaved area concrete (RAC). The committee said many of the 100 schools still to be selected for the programme will be chosen due to serious RAC issues, leaving the other rundown schools in limbo. An estimated 700,000 pupils attended the 1,200 schools considered for the SRB. The image of classroom ceilings collapse onto empty school decks released in the recent months are not just searing indictments or of a deteriorating school state, said Dame Meg Hiller, the committee's chair. They are chilling reminders of the absolute catastrophic averted through sheer luck. Given the poor conditions of so many of these buildings, the government's prime challenge should now be to keep the safety of children and staff absolutely paramount. Well, they're not really doing that, because we've talked about this, and this has been, as it says here, it's been recent months. So what's been happening in that time? Paul Whiteman, General Secretary of the NATH School Leaders Union, said it's beggars belief that ministers still lack a clear plan to deal with the deteriorating school buildings. We urgently need clarity from ministers on when the RAC will be dealt with and a proper long-term plan to ensure the school's estate is fit for purpose, both backed by the significant new funding that is needed. This should be a top priority for next week's autumn statement. The Department for Education spokesperson said, "We do not accept the committee's assessment. The government has taken swift action responding to new evidence to identify and support all schools with RAC to ensure the safety of pupils and teachers. We have now gathered questionnaire responses from all education sectors in the affected areas. The vast majority have no RAC and continue to provide full face-to-face education for all pupils. When school buildings are found to contain RAC, we are working closely with them to ensure that their remediation work is carried out and disruption to learning is minimalised. Our school rebuilding programme is continuing to rebuild and refurbish school buildings in the poorest conditions, with the first 400 projects selected ahead of schedule." So they're claiming that they don't accept this committee's assessment on it. I'm just going to say, where school buildings are found to contain, they work closely with it. Now the question is, whose side? Who are you most likely to believe? This committee's report or the government? The thing is that that if school leaders say this, I still think it's a great. I think it's one of concern. That's for sure. I'm not going to go outright call the government liars, but they have tend to mislead or not give full facts and information to the people, haven't they? So it's hard for me to take their word really seriously when they say they don't accept the findings. I think it would have been more interesting if the article had stated from the teacher's point of view, and say, have there been improvements? Has there been clearance of RAC concrete? If there has, how is that going? I think that should have been if that should have been the case, that should have been highlighted. Answers about what teachers are saying right now when it turns to some schools, I think it would have been a more appropriate answer. Would be more appropriate if we had the answers to that, but we don't here. What do you guys think? 700,000 pupils being taught in schools in England that need major refurbishment. Is that really true? Is the government saying that they don't accept the commitments herein? Perhaps it's much less, maybe it's more. What do you guys honestly think about this article? Let me know down in the comment section below what you think. Hit the like button, would be great. Appreciate it. Share across social media and hit that bell notification icon so when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.